So we are in the Tree Frog Games booth here with probably one of the world's preeminent game designers. I'll go that far to say. It's really a pleasure to meet Martin Wallace in the flesh. And we're going to learn all about some of the new offerings from Tree Frog this year, all the way from fantasy-themed literary tie-ins to more traditional sort of war game attitudes. And then this is one I'm not familiar with at all, a card game. You pick, Martin. Where do you want to start, Tim?
Well, thanks for the introduction. Let's see. What shall we start with? I suppose the big release we've got this year is the Discworld game. This is our attempt to reach into a bigger market. So something which is suitable for family play. Obviously, with the name Terry Pratchett on it, we're hoping to get all those people out there who love the books. If we can get to, trying to get to them with a game that they can enjoy, but a game which is still enough bite in it to keep the gamer happy. So I'm hoping it will be a nice gateway game, to bring some of those people over into the world of gaming.
Now, I would assume that you're a Terry Pratchett fan yourself?
Bizarrely, before I started the project, no.
All right.
No, it was a friend of... I was looking to do a licensed game because I wanted to try and build the company up, and I figured a license would be a good way of increasing our sales potential. But the first license I went for, I didn't get very far, and it was one of my people in my games club suggested Terry Pratchett. I'd read one or two of his books many, many years ago. But the reason we went for it, what made it easier was that some of the people I knew, some of my friends, knew Terry Pratchett. Okay, so we had a way in. There was a back door. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I got a lot of advice from these friends about things to do, things not to do, how to best approach it, which was absolutely invaluable. If I'd just gone to Terry and said, "Can I do a board game?" the answer would have been no. Rather than do that, I did all of the design, made sure the design was as good as it could be. Then I went to him. In fact, I didn't go to him, I went to his agent. And their response is, well, let the fans play. If the fans think it's good enough, then we'll say yes. So, we took it to a Discworld convention, played it with as many people as we could get there. Their reaction was very positive, and on the back of that, we got the green light.
Seems like kind of a risk in a way.
Yeah, it was a very big risk. I read an awful lot of books in a very short period of time. I spent a lot of time developing it. So yeah, if the answer had been no, it would have been a bit of a headache. But fortunately, touch wood, we got the okay. And then of course the serious work started. Now we have to get the artwork sorted out, and that was a massive job. There's 132 Absolutely. Cards in there, each with individual artwork on. You've got the map itself, the cover. It was a very big project.
How long in the development process from you doing the initial design and pitching it to them?
Well, the whole thing. Let's see. I started designing it. I first had the idea, not February 2010. So from February 2010, I went from having the idea to do it, doing the reading. By the summer of 2010, by August, I had the design complete. We signed the contract in November, and between November and April, all of the artwork was done.
That's pretty fast turnaround.
It's incredibly fast, and then the game was produced by August. So
it's been on the fast train for a long time. Then
well, the fortunate thing is that the people I worked with, Terry's, a good friend of Terry's, a guy called Bernard Pearson, who's an old friend of Terry's and was able to advise on the artwork, and his partner in his company, Ian Mitchell, actually did the artwork for the map. But for a lot of the artwork, we used my regular artist, Peter Dennis. And the thing with Peter Dennis is, Peter's very quick. And Peter didn't know the books, but Bernard and Ian would do a detailed description of every character with any images they could find, with literary references, suggestions, or sometimes like Terry, they'd ask Terry, what's this character meant to look like? And he'll say, oh, he looks a bit like Pete Postlethwaite, it's a particular Commander Vimes, or this person looks like a certain actor, or so on. So they'd go and get pictures of that. In some cases, some of the characters there are based on real people who are part of the Discworld fans.
Nice.
So, I mean, one particular example is Dr. Hicks. I don't know if you're familiar with the books.
I am.
But there's a character in there called Dr. Hicks. Now, Dr. Hicks became a character in the books because somebody called John Hicks won an auction to become a character in the books. So his card is based on what he really looks like. So there's a lot of fun they had a lot of fun in putting the images together. But Peter Dennis turned that artwork around in weeks.
Wow.
I mean, this guy gets up at 4:30 in the morning. He doesn't stop till 9 at night. He would work 7 days a week, but his wife would kill him. So he only works 6 days a week. But yeah, without him, we would not have had a product. But it's been a great team effort.
Sounds like it. A lot of different people contributing to make it happen on that scale, that schedule. I mean.
Yeah, but it's also been a lot of fun because I've made a lot of new friends. You know, Bernard's now a great friend. Ian is a great friend. And we made a lot of friends in the Discworld community. So I mean, as I say, it's been a very positive, enjoyable experience.
In terms of how much of a challenge was it to sort of capture the sense of humor or fun or whimsy of the books in a game design? Is that something that entered into your mind when you're thinking about designing the game? How does that influence your...
It kind of evolved over time. Originally, I was just going to adapt London to Ankh Morpork. But very quickly I realised it doesn't work because London is about the development of a city over a long period. In Ankh Morpork, everything is happening at the same time. There's no development, it's just different adventures, different people, different adventures going on. So then I realised, no, the key thing is having all of these characters in there interacting in some form or other, but in a very quick way. So that's what you have in the game. You have a hand of 5 cards, you play a card, you do what it says on the card, you move on. You fill your hand to 5, the next player has their go. And most of the cards are characters. And as much as possible, what the character did in the book is what they do on the card. So, a simple example would be the Fire Brigade. The Fire Brigade, you play them on somebody, they either pay you money or you burn their house down, because that's the whole point of the Fire Brigade. So, one of my favourites is the Peeled Nuts, who do nothing. And everybody, when they first play the game, it's like, what does this card do? There's nothing. They're a historical reenactment society. Why would you expect them to be useful? But what works nicely is another card. There's the Rosie Palm card, she's the seamstress.
Right.
You see, the Rosie Palm card, if you play the Rosie Palm card, you can take another one of your cards, give it to somebody else. They have to give you $2 in return, because obviously they're in their profession, it's all about an exchange.
Clearly.
So if you've also got the Peeled Nuts card, you can give them Peeled Nuts cards. They give you $2 and they feel well and truly screwed. So there is humour in there that arises naturally from the interaction of the cards. Like another one, because you have secret personalities, it also means we can have Zorgo the retrophonologist. If you don't like the personality, you can change it. So the humour doesn't come from having quotations on the cards, it comes from the interaction of the cards and what players bring to the table.
I think that's it brings more enjoyment, I would think, or more the sense of fun than just reading a quote you've already read in the book anyway.
I don't like that kind of forced, this is funny because it's got a joke on the card. No, it's only funny the first time. Yeah.
Well, shifting gears to, let's say, a few acres of snow.
Yes.
Maybe talk a little bit about the theme of it, and maybe I'm always fascinated. I'm a history person. We do history segments on our show, and I'm always interested to know how much effort and time, and I know from other games, just from reading about your design process, how much effort goes into that part of the process, where this came about in a very short amount of time. Maybe compare the process of making a few acres of snow and the research or the historical aspects of it.
Well, the thing with snow was, a few acres of snow was actually suggested by a friend of mine. I go to the pub once a month usually, and there's a couple of guys I go drinking with, although the group is diminishing in size at the moment. But one of the guys I go drinking with is a military historian, John Ellis. He's not a well-known military historian, but he's written a few books, like the Social History of the Machine Gun, the World War II Data Book, Sharp End, written a history of Casino. But he's a very knowledgeable historian, and his house is just full of books on everything to do with warfare, across all periods. And it was John who actually suggested the thing, because he'd been working on a section of the book and he was dealing with the French-Indian Wars, and he thought that might make a good subject for a game. Now, I mean, the guy doesn't know games, so he didn't know about the Wilderness War or anything like that. But I thought, yeah, it's kind of interesting, this idea of war being channeled along certain directions because of the geography. Mm-hmm. You pretty much got to move by water. So actually, John did some of the research, because that's his job to read. So he did a lot of reading. He kind of preceded it, made notes, sorts of dates out, and so on. So I did some reading around it, but not as much as I would do normally, because he was able to do some of that reading
inspiration from him.
Yes, yeah. Then it's a case of how do you turn this into a game, and it's only later on, as I was thinking about it, that because I'd recently played Dominion, I thought that's quite a neat mechanic. And here, we've got a war being fought a distance from home where there's always delays. That kind of the delay between drafting a card and being able to use the card actually fits thematically. So I hadn't consciously set out to do a Dominion-based game. That just came about after the fact, and it just so happened that when it came together, it worked a lot better than I expected it to, and it allows you to do things that you couldn't do in a standard hex-based war game where you've just got bits on the board moving around. It allows you to do things, and it adds a different dimension to the game. I don't know if you played the game.
I have just picked it up today, actually.
And it's like with the Native American cards. I mean, they can ambush you, but because you don't know what's in the other person's hand, if you ambush them, you don't know if it's going to work or not. If you ambush them, if you've got a military card, they lose it. But if they've got a card that blocks it, they don't. So in your hand, if you've got a nice, juicy military card, if you don't have something like another Native American Indian or a ranger's card to protect them, then they're liable to get ambushed. If you do have it, it kind of simulates having scouts ahead of your main column that are going to spot an ambush, which is exactly, that was the problem that Braddock had on his way to Fort Duquesne, where he didn't have scouts out, he got ambushed, and he got his butt kicked.
It's nice to see how the history sort of informs the mechanics, that the history is embedded in the process of play, and it's not just there's history, this is a historical game, and then there's a game system sort of, and never the twain shall meet.
Yeah. And also, it's like, some people have mentioned it really struggled to understand the map. And I kind of think, so did they. The British didn't actually know they were pretty much surrounded by the French until somebody made the first map of America. Until then, they had no idea of the geography. They didn't really know. They knew about what was along the coast, but they didn't really know what was inland. Because it's not like today where you have a satellite view and you've got a clear idea of what's where. They didn't have that. Then somebody created a map of the East Coast, and at that point they went, oh my God, we're being surrounded by the French. Over a period of long period, but it's only then when somebody mapped it that they realised that there was this danger, and they decided, okay, we need to do something about it. So in a sense, yes, if you're confused by the map, you might find that annoying, but so did the people of the time.
It's intentional, in other words.
Yes, yeah. So no, it's been very pleased about the way it's turned out. The response has been very good.
How long from the process of being sort of inspired by your friend to actually having a game to be played here?
It's probably 18 months ago.
Really?
I sometimes lose track of when I start something, but it was fairly quick. It came together fairly quickly.
That seems, I guess in my mind, I would think that these would take a little bit, the more historically based ones might take a little bit longer, but I guess when you have your friend the reader helping you, maybe that shortens up the period a little.
To a degree. I mean, key thing you got to remember is I do this full time.
Sure.
A lot of designers have to do a day job, whereas this for me is a full-time occupation. So that means I can spend a lot more time focusing at the job in hand. You know, I've got time to do the reading, and just time also to think about things without having to think about filling in X number of spreadsheets or fixing a computer problem or whatever your day job is. The key thing with designing a game is having those periods of time when you can think without there being interruptions. So I have more of that time.
How many games do you normally have going around in various stages of development at a time? I'm sure it probably varies.
Yeah,
there's
a kind of, it ebbs and it flows. I mean, there's a kind of conveyor belt thing. I mean, at the moment, at this point in time, I've got about 4 games in development for next year. I've got some games that I'm working on for other companies. So, I mean, off the top of my head, I might be working on about 8 or 9 different designs at the moment. And then there are other things I know are coming down the line that at some point I'm going to have to do. So, yeah, I keep busy.
Absolutely, we can tell that from just the output from year to year. Well, let's round out our talk here maybe with one that I don't know anything about. I've not seen it at all.
Old Men of the Forest. This game came about purely by accident. I don't even remember. A number of years ago, we auctioned off a load of Warfrog artwork. I don't know if you...
No, I didn't know that.
Well, what it was, Julie's daughter had a liver transplant when she was very young, and we were raising money to get her to go and compete in the transplant games in Australia. So a number of years ago, we auctioned off artwork to raise money. So we wanted, that was Bangkok. Then we wanted to raise money again for the following games. So I went to the guy who did the artwork for Automobile, a guy called Mike Atkinson. I said, Mike, could I auction the artwork for Automobile? He said, Martin, I'll do you a piece of artwork for free and you can sell it to raise money. And Mike Atkinson, he's great on trains, he's great on cars, and I knew he was into wild birds because he does a lot of bird spotter books. And I decided that Hannah could choose the subject of the picture. And because Hannah loves ducks, I expected Hannah to say, I'll have a picture of some ducks, please. And I knew Mike could do ducks because he used to breed them. So Hannah comes along to his house and says, I want orangutans. I was like, oh, God. Can he do orangutans? So it's like, Mike, can you do orangutans? Well, actually, Martin, I spent 6 months studying orangutans in London Zoo. So he did us this wonderful piece of artwork. So I've got this piece of artwork. It's like, how do I sell it? Because if I just go on eBay and nobody turns up, I'm not going to get anything. It's not being on a game cover, so none of the game geeks are going to go, I must have that. I then looked at doing prints, but the print market is deadly. It's just really hard to sell prints. So I thought, okay, Warfrog, as it was then, will buy this piece of artwork for £1,000, will give that money to charity, and then I will design a game about orangutans and use this as the cover and get my money back. Okay? So I had this piece of artwork sitting around, and then when I got involved with Discworld, that sparked the idea to this, because Terry Pratchett is the president of the Orangutan Foundation. Because as you may know, there is an orangutan in the book.
Absolutely.
So basically, this is a way of ingratiating myself even further into Terry, say, hey Terry, I've done an orangutan game. All of the profits go to the Orangutan Foundation. So we don't make a penny from this. So I got Mike Atkinson to work up some more cards. So, some nice card work inside. It's a simple trick-taking game, but the twist is when you win a trick, whoever wins the trick gets one of the cards played as a prize card, but not their own. And then the player who played the second highest card also gets a prize card. And then you can cash prize cards in to save orangutans. So if you look on the back of the box, so like a baby orangutan, you only have to cash in 1 prize card, but like a full adult, you might need 3 prize cards, but of different types.
Okay.
So it's a case of, do you kind of cash your cards in quickly to get low points, or do you hold on to try and get a bigger set to cash in for a better card? But if you get too many cards, additional cards count against you. So if you go too far, so for instance, if you've got 5 prize cards and you spend 3 of them, the other 2 cards are that's the negative 2 points.
Oh, gotcha.
So you've
Okay.
kind of got this extra bit of how far do you push your luck. But it's a quick, simple game. Takes 15 minutes to play. So it's a card game with a twist. But we've done 3,000 copies. It's €10 here. After the show, we'll be making available on the website, and see how it goes.
Well, it's fun to see the wide variety. We love trick-taking games too, and they're such classics.
Yeah.
It's fun to see how many variations and sort of the modern age is sort of caught up with that, and there's a lot of gold to be mined there, I think, as well. And I'm glad to see you're not. you're in that in that camp too.
Yeah, I like doing all sorts of different. I don't just do heavy historical games. I can do other things.
If you had a particular of the heavy or light, is there a particular style when you sit down to play that you prefer?
What in general?
Yeah, just in general terms.
I mean, I very rarely get a chance to play other players' games. I mean, games that I've enjoyed in the past. I like Agricola. I think that's quite nice because the theme comes through. I like games where the theme comes through. There's a lot of games I don't like because I don't get the theme. I don't, it feels tacked on. I'm trying to think of games I played recently. I quite like K2 because again, I got the feeling of the theme. I got the feeling of the danger of getting up the mountain. And what I really like with that is, I only played it once, but I was doing really well. I made one mistake, I died, and I thought that sums up mountain climbing. You can't afford to make a mistake. So yes, but otherwise I don't get to play many games.
Understandable with the schedule that you've already described. Well, but before we go here, can you tease us about any upcoming things that might be coming in the next 6 to 8 months here?
The next game we've got coming out is going to be the lightest tree frog game ever. It's going to be a deduction game, and I personally think it's really good.
I like deduction games.
Yeah, well, if you like deduction games, you're going to really like this. So we think this could do very well for us. So I've got a really good deduction game. Got another license that we're trying to tie up, but I've not signed the agreement yet. But if we do tie it up, you're going to go, oh my God, you got that license? We've got, if I get the green light from Terry, we've got a follow-up game to Ankh Morpork, but he doesn't know about that, so don't tell him.
Okay.
We've got some more card games coming up, and we've got certain people on the internet being asking, are you doing anything else like Snow? And the answer is yes, we are, and it might be for more than 2 people.
Ooh.
And that's the first time I've said that publicly, so that's a scoop.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first. You definitely heard it here first. But I think they're getting the sign to wrap it up now, because my wife's staring at me saying, you need to come here now. Yeah, okay.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. It's been a real pleasure meeting you and getting to sit down and talk for as long as we did. Best of luck here at Essen, and hope to talk to you again.
Absolutely. That's great.
Thanks.
Okay.